Good morning and welcome to our daily devotional from Pilgrim Congregational Church. I'm Patrick Horn. Very glad to have you with us on this Tuesday morning, January the 21st, 2025, as we look this week from the book of Nehemiah. And we're looking at chapter 8 of Nehemiah. And in this chapter, there is an emphasis on the reading of the law of Moses. We've been talking a lot the last couple of weeks about righteousness and the role of righteousness in our lives, and this is done in and through the law of Moses. We generally think of the law of Moses as mostly having to do with the first 5 books of the Old Testament, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, and also called the Pentateuch. And here we find that the nation is gathered, the people are gathered together to hear the book read. I'm going to read these first 2 verses and then offer a couple more reflections. All the people gathered together into the square before the water gate. They told the scribe Ezra to bring the book of the law of Moses, which the Lord had given to Israel. Accordingly, the priest Ezra brought the law before the assembly, both men and women, and all who could hear with understanding. This was on the first day of the 7th month. So, in addition to this being, centrally about the law and the living of righteousness in accordance with the law, we find here an interesting phrase about it being addressed to all the people, both men and women, and anyone who could understand. There was a very the law was at this time was central to the self-understanding of the people, and this is what the prophets were pointing to, that they really felt that Israel as a nation was called to righteousness, and as I said, a righteousness that is rooted in the law of Moses. And so there was some institutional structure here. We had priest. Ezra is described as a priest. And of course, I mentioned yesterday, I think that the books Ezra and Nehemiah, for most of their history, were one book, Ezra and Nehemiah. It was only over the last 300 or 400 years, actually, that they were treated as 2 different books. And these were central characters, as Ezra and Nehemiah, in the reestablishment of the law in the land of Israel. So, a lot of times when we think of the law, we think of, we have a tendency to think very legalistically, that is, of written laws that have to be strictly followed. But actually, there's a lot in the Old Testament about the law being written on one's heart. And we'll see later this week that this involves interpreting the law, that is, understanding and interpreting so that we know how to apply it in our lives. And also, it's not always clear. That is, the righteous thing to do is sometimes unclear. Sometimes there are disagreements, and we get that in the biblical text. That is, people disagree with one another sometimes about how to interpret the law. Rather than our thinking that this is some kind of failing of the law or of righteousness, I think it's important to understand that it is the character and nature of righteousness that we discuss it, that we try to figure out what is right. That is a part of its nature. It is not it's not something that can simply be read and easily applied always. So very important part of our understanding. All right, let's close with this word of prayer. Excuse me. O God, who art so near that nearer thou cannot be, whose spirit mingles with our own as sunshine in the air, even this does not content us unless we can feel thy presence and see thy light and look upon thy face. We know thou art in our minds, yet thou art always a step beyond our thoughts, and we long to speak with thee as friend with friend. In the stillness of the chamber, under the silence of the stars, we know thou art. But oh, that thou couldst call us as a mother calls her child. We believe thou art near, for suddenly our hearts grow still. Heavenly thoughts stir within the mind. In sad and lonely hours we smile and know not why. But oh, that we could feel thee, like the wind upon our cheeks, like the tide about the shore, like a hand within our own. We could understand thy love if it were warm with our own humanity. We could even dare to love thee if thou wouldst clothe thyself in our frail form. We could trust ourselves to life if thou couldst consent to walk our ways, endure our sorrows, and taste the bitterness of death. Amen. Thank you for joining me this morning from Pilgrim Congregational Church in Pomona, California. Very glad to have you with us and hope that you have a good day. Goodbye.